Good afternoon from Barcelona, where it's finally time to get the season underway. The GP2 series that has given us so much brilliant racing is back. Welcome to season 12. This is the opening feature race of the 2016 GP2 series. I'm your commentator, Alex Jakes. And we begin the first of 11 rounds here in Spain, where it was a glorious day for racing. Bright sunshine has in the last few minutes been replaced by overcast conditions. Sharp contrast still to yesterday though, when it was raining. Spectators loving the weather, the heat today lining the Circuit de Catalunya, and GP2 knows it so well. It's been an ever-present fixture on the calendar since the series started in 2005. The championship might only be 2 sessions old. It's all been about one man and one team so far. Pierre Gasly took a terrific pole position to give him and Prima a start of the season at the front. It's an all-French front row with Norman Nato alongside his best ever in GP2. Alex Lynn qualified in 3rd in 2015, 3rd in 2016. Another PB for Nicholas Latifi in his first race for Dams. Sergei Sorokin had to run early with the wet conditions. That meant he wasn't on the track at the optimum time. He is 5th. My driver of the day yesterday was Gustav Malya. Didn't threaten anywhere like that sort of pace before his 6th. Ollie Rowland was very pleased with 7th. He made 2 errors on his fastest lap. He thinks he could have been good enough for the top 2 roads. Markelov is 8th, beating his teammate. The top rookie on the group is Luca Ghiotto. It's an all-Italian row 5 with Antonio Giovinazzi alongside him. We then have George King starting in 13th place. He had balance issues. That was a real problem. Then Arthur Peak is 14th, long way adrift of his teammate. Sergio Canamassas very pleased indeed to be racing on home soil. Marvin Kirchhofer alongside his teammate, another one of the rookies. De Jong was 6th last year. He's only 17th today. And look at Mitch Evans down there in 18th. We thought the woe was behind him. It's not for the moment at least. He is 18th. 19th is Jimmy Eriksson. 20th is Nabil Jeffrey, 21st is Pilo Paz-Armand, and Sean Galayo starts in the pit lane after getting a penalty for blocking. I should also mention that we have Nobuharu Matsushita, who qualified in 8th. He will be starting this race from 11th place as we look at the pole sitter. He took a really big risk, didn't he? Pierre Gasly knew he couldn't be in the same team as Alex Lynn, both stated as title contenders in 2016. So he took the bold decision move to Prima, and it's paying off. He was speaking of the Italian mentality being one that he's really warmed to. Norman Nato doing terrifically well in his first qualifying session for Racing Engineering. And as I mentioned, in the pit lane, just the one car. That's how a Campos looks in 2016, and Sean Galayo was sitting there. Alex Lynn for Dams, used to this of the racetrack, getting the last word from his engineer Jose there before clearing the grid. He has spoken all winter of the fact that they've not been testing for outright pace. Both Dams boys, you're looking at his teammate Nicholas Latifi, and they've instead been focusing on the long runs. See, Latifi did so well. Not many expected him to be in 4th. Terrific sight of the starting grid there. And we have mixed strategies at the front, where we have our pole sitter on hard tyres. We saw Alex Lynn is on the softs. There you get a great sight of it there. And the all-French row have gone for the all-hard tyres. Alongside me today, NBC's Formula 1 pit lane reporter and noted GP2 fan. Welcome back, Will Buxton. I'm very well. It's great to have you alongside. What a season we've got in prospect. It is a really long time. The exact date is all the way back in September 2013. And Pierre Gasly, I mean, I almost feel embarrassed saying it at this point. We mentioned it all last year in commentary. Today, such a good opportunity for him to throw the monkey off his back and to identify himself as the man to beat in the championship as we're away from the grid for the first time in 2016, and we hope they all get away. 21 cars on the grid, 1 in the pit lane. And it's interesting to see which way they've gone on tyres. The hard tyres, the prime tyres for the front row. Alex Lynn feeling more confident on the softs. And if you join us for practice and qualifying, you'll know that they take 2 laps to on the tyres. Right now they've only got 1, and in the pressure of the first turn.
The big thing here for Lynn, I was speaking to him this morning, and he said that with the soft tyre on heavy fuel, he's not even sure that it won't hit the cliff before the pit lane opens after those 6 laps. He was really worried about him. With that in mind, I thought he was going to leave the soft till the end of the race. But if he's starting on it, you know, he might hit that plateau and really start to drop before the pit window even opens.
We have 9 drivers that have switched teams. We've got Raffaele Marcello and arguably Mitch Evans way out of position. So look out for them as we go to the start, because they really might not have had the 1-lap pace, but should really be a threat to come through this field if their previous form. Marcello's ending the season so well, splitting the Dams drivers in the championship between getting 6th place, really strong run of form, and Alex Lynn, as I said, talking up the long runs. He said in the press conference yesterday, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens when the light goes out. And he said it with a smile on his face. I think he believes he's got the beating of those in front of him today.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be confident. They didn't spend the winter looking at the short run pace. It was all about race sims for them, all about getting the knowledge on how far they could push these tyres. Don't forget the temperatures today way up on where they were in testing. They were used to very cool conditions, very little deg. So today, you know, you can test all winter, but when you get here 2 months later, the sun's out, it's a totally different racing track, a totally different set of conditions. So yeah, I don't think he should be overly confident.
One thing to mention off the start that it will be absolutely crucial to look for is the advantage that the soft tyre has over the hard in the first couple of meters. It's worth about a car length. And if Alex Lynn can get a good start, he can really use that to his advantage. In one of the longest runs down to turn 1 of the year, it's 730 meters. So a lot can go wrong, but if you get it right, the rewards are absolutely huge.
Yeah, the run down through turn 3 as well. We always see a lot of overtaking moves on that first lap around the outside of turn 3. Tom Dillman famously doing it a couple of years ago. In fact, I think he inspired a certain Fernando Alonso to do the same thing in the F1 race. And that's the thing with GP2 being back on the F1 program. All the F1 drivers watching it, because come race start tomorrow afternoon in Formula 1, they want to see what these boys are doing and you know, take a little bit of influence.
And so the nervy moments as the drivers line up for the first time in 2016. See the all Carlin row there. Then there's De Jong, and we await the green flag at the back of the field. And now we await the lights. There's the green flag, stirring moments for the drivers then. It's time to get the 2016 GP2 series underway. Lights out, and we're away in Barcelona with a great start for Pierre Gasly. It's a better one for Latifi, who's immediately passed his teammate Lynn, but Lynn's fighting back. Nato trying to hold on to second. You've got Sorokin and Malia dueling on the left-hand side of your picture as Gasly goes defensive on Nato, and it's Latifi trying around the outside. Sorokin past Lynn already. He's trying to go around the outside into 2. We've got Ollie Rowland off the road, and that was so close to contact as Latifi still battling Sorokin, who's got himself up from 5th on the grid to 3rd in the race, as Lynn now coming past his teammate into 4. That's risky, and I think there was contact in the background there. Dams side by side as they go through 4, and Lynn has managed to get himself back up 1 place. That's absolutely crucial, past the hard tyres of his teammate Markelov, making his way past, and there was nearly contact between Matsushita and Jordan King, who's trying to recover from that dreadful 13th place in qualifying.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful start then for Gasly, and Sorokin as well, making up those positions. Lynn really needed to get it all stuck in on the first couple of corners, but losing ground, he's got to make these soft tyres work for him, because the start's not gone the way he wanted.
So a perfect start for Prima, who had a perfect day yesterday. And we've got to move down the inside, the Giovinazzi, who had started in 10th, and that's Luca Giotto out of the race on the first lap. A disaster for the Italian driver.
He had a very, very slow getaway. It caused everyone to bunch around him coming down the start-finish straight. I'm not sure if he took contact then down there at turn 1, but a shocker of a start for Giotto.
Certainly was. So we have the yellow flag out because of Giotto's accident. And we go across the line with Gasly ahead of Nato. Sorokin, the big winner at the start, and we have a virtual safety car to allow us to catch our breath. And the drivers now, they will see that from the boards displayed around the racetrack. They will all have been radioed, and you can see how glacially slow it looks.
Can I just have a shout out for Sergio Canamassas? I know that's a rarity for me, but started in P15. Really great first lap, kept his head, and he's up to P8. Absolutely mega from the local boy.
I won't tell anyone about the surprise on your face, Will.
No, he's quick. No, he's always been quick, and we know that, and he's in the Carlin, and yeah, he just needs to keep himself calm. And that first lap, when everything's going crazy and it can all go so wrong, and yeah, look, there is Giotto off at turn 3, so I think that was all down to that first corner.
Overtaken under virtual safety car. I am being overtaken under virtual safety car.
So Jordan King not that pleased to be overtaken under the virtual safety car. Of course, we had this problem in Sochi.
You know who's ahead of him. Here's the incident then.
So having a look through turn 2, we've got Giotto off the road, and when he rejoins, so he's tagged at the back there, and that's a puncture, and then straight to the scene of the accident at turn 2. Such a shame, because he was the top rookie on the grid. As we get another look at it, he's already off at that point, and then nothing he can do. Simply a passenger.
Now, was that Malia? Was that Malia who straight line turn 1, or was it the other? Was it the other Trident?
I thought it was Ollie Rowland who was off the road at turn 1, but maybe if we have another look.
I'll take your word for it. You know who's ahead of Jordan King, though, and I've just said such lovely things about him. If he's been overtaken under the virtual safety car, it's our dear friend Sergio.
So I think Matsushita was making, I think it's difficult because the drivers all react at different times. We saw this so much in GP3 last year, when you get the call, when you have to slow down, some drivers stealing about 10 to 15 meters on others, and so you always get an argument, a to and a fro over the radio. And we're still under virtual safety car conditions. If you're joining us slightly late, Pierre Gasly maintaining his lead off the start. Let's have a look at how he did it as they head into turn 10. Will take us through.
If you look on the left-hand side, that's Giotto, just way too much wheel spin, allowing everybody to fly through up and past him. I think that is that Kirchhofer, who actually got over onto the grass on the right-hand side in the Carlin. But you see also, yeah, just massively dropping back. The guys at the front, though, again, look at the dams coming down. I think Latifi had a wonderful getaway. He's impressed me so far. I mean, I say so far, we're only in race 1, but he's been very calm, very level-headed, just doing his diligent work. And then I'm going to see who cuts across. You're right, it was Ollie Rowland nipping across and almost taking out a couple of the guys. And there goes Giotto, just at the bottom of the screen over onto the gravel. But Rowland, that was a pretty I'm going to say 50-50 getting back on track there. It wasn't the safest I've ever seen.
On board with Sergei Sorokin. So you see the huge amount of wheel spin that Alex Lynn had in front of the Russian driver. Also having a look at the superb start of Latifi alongside. And then it got very close indeed, as you see the long run to turn 1. The Frenchman battling for the lead. And Latifi was very brave. Look how close that was. And he had to use the AstroTurf on the exit of 2. Was brave, but it's worked for him.
Sorokin was massively committed through there, barely even lifted. Really gutsy stuff, just not giving an inch.
And that is why we are under the virtual safety car. This is Mitch Evans into turn number 1. So you can see Ollie Rowland rejoining in front of you there. And then
there goes
the
Giotto.
Rapax spinning around. So not the start to the season Giotto would have wanted. And a bit of a nightmare for Malia after his really strong day. And you see Marvin Kirchhofer in the pits.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that's for damage because he can't have changed his tyres. He's not in a pit window just yet. Very slow car going down. It's his nose. So taking a dink down there on the first lap. It might as well do that under the virtual safety car.
So still taking a bit of a time to recover the Trident for the runner-up of the GP3 series in 2015. A surprise championship contender there, but he was absolutely mega, scoring 5 wins. He won't go any further today. So I think Gasly is in an absolutely perfect position as far as the strategy is concerned, because he really would have been thinking about Lin as soon as he knew Lin was on the soft tyres. To find Lin down in 4th, he's fended off Nato. Dare I say, it's his race to lose now.
Yeah, but this is going to be playing into Alex Lin's hands quite nicely as well, because he's not having to push these soft tyres, and he was so worried about them losing their edge and falling off the cliff in these opening 6 laps. He's just able to, to look after his tyres, not push them in these early laps, which means, if they were only going to last 6-7 laps, they'll definitely do that now. And if they were pretty safely on there for him, then he'll be able to push them a little bit longer, maybe to get them to lap 8, 9, 10, and that's all going to have impacts onto his strategy.
So we heard the team radio, just to tell you, and the full safety car has joined us at the Circuit de Catalunya.
And that's going to work out really well for somebody like Kirchhoffer, who obviously, changed his wing there, and because of the virtual couldn't make the time up. But now the whole field's being bunched, he will be able to catch up to the back of the field.
So safety car deployed because it was taking so long.
Well, they've got it off now. There you go. Just when the safety car comes out, they can bring it back in again. End of the lap.
Job done.
Job done.
So, Gasly, Nato, Sorokin, Lin and Latifi, who had a great start but then got out-fought in the opening couple of corners. But it's interesting, Latifi, one of those drivers that really does seem to divide opinion, but he's been really strong so far this weekend. Artem Markelov sitting in 6th position. He scored points here. Breakthrough weekend for him last year in 6th place, and then Malia in 7th, so it would have been peak spinning around.
It's great to see how Markelov has developed over the last couple of years, because a lot of people just sort of dismissed him easily as, he's bringing the money for Russian time, and he's not really up to much. But he improves with every passing weekend. He's a great instinctive overtaker. He's a real hustler. I really like Artem. He's got a massive following as well. And someone else impressing me right now. Obviously, we've spoken about Latifi very briefly, and we're only 4 laps into the race. But Malia as well has shown really well all weekend. I can't wait to see, once the safety car comes in, what he can do. He's rated very, very highly by the Swedish media. They think he's he's absolute quality.
He had a few rounds at the end of the 2015 season, scoring a point in the crazy feature race we had in Belgium last year with that huge accident for Daniel de Jong, who I'm delighted is back where he should be, in the team that he absolutely loves, in the series he absolutely loves, with MP Motorsport.
Involving our race leader, wasn't it?
It was. It's one of those races, one of those inconsistent races last year where Gasly, we saw the other side of him. We know he's searingly quick over 1 lap. It's the Saturday and the Sunday where he has to convince Red Bull and the rest of us watching that he belongs in Formula One next year, and I've got a funny feeling there might be a seat available.
Well, it's the word you use, consistency, and that's absolutely what he's got to show. But for Dr. Marco, consistency's not enough. He's got to show out and out pace as well. He's shown the pace, but he needs to show he's got a cool head. He needs to show he can turn it on when he needs to. And we're right on board now with the driver who knows, how quick that drop will happen. Alex Lin was a Red Bull driver. I remember I was up in the Red Bull motorhome last year watching the race in Budapest, and Helmut Marko watching on as Alex Lin fought off Pierre Gasly. I think probably wondering, did I drop the right driver?
It's a difficult decision to make. Dams had a running joke last year that Gasly and Lin were inseparable, and it seemed every time you looked at the timing pages, they were 4th and 5th, or they were battling for the lead, and you were never able to pull them apart. So they knew that they were going to be heading to different teams in their battle for the title, and this man was so consistent, the Rookie of the Year in 2015 in the unfancied Rapak squad.
I completely forgot he finished 3rd in the championship last year, and I gave out the trophies. I completely, it's easy to overlook Sorokin. It's also easy to forget how young he is. When when he was signed up as a Sauber sort of reserve test or whatever it was going to be, and he was going to make his debut, and everyone said he's too young, and then in came Verstappen, and okay, now Verstappen is obviously the youngest, but you forget how young he is and how impressive he is, and what a great job he did last year to finish top 3 in the championship as a rookie, as you say, and comes into this season along with Gasly. He's got to be seen, and Lin, as one of the out-and-out favourites for the championship.
He's not short on confidence. I asked him whether he expected to win the title this year, and he barely nodded. He was like, of course, I'm with ART.
So just like a sly little wink.
So the drivers now will be trying to get the tyres back up to temperature, trying to get some heat into the brakes. They've been driving around in a very low gear to keep the water pressure up under the virtual safety car, and now they've got to get themselves back in race mode, back doing what they've come here to do. Such a long off season. We haven't, I mean, a really long time to start the season in May, and now Gasly will become the pace setter. He becomes the safety car. He dictates the pace. When is he going to drop the hammer? When is he going to try and leave Nato, his compatriot, behind and try and build the lead at the start of this lap? Because remember, as soon as they can, they're going to bring in DRS.
Still weaving. Still weaving.
Still trying to get heat into the tyres. And as soon as they bring in DRS,
now.
And off he goes through the final chicane. Has Nato gone with him? Not really, but the Dams boys are very close together. Canamassas very close indeed to Malia coming out of the final turn. And we're racing again in Barcelona as Gasly leads them across the line.
That's wonderful. Great restart from Gasly. He's got, what, 2-3 car lengths on him? Phenomenal.
And I talked about the second gap he would need under DRS. He's already got 17, and that's a huge lock-up for Jordan King, who does well to make the corner. That was very intense down into turn one. That's the problem with cold tyres and cold brakes as we look at the battle between Raffaele Marcello, and he is trying to catch Ollie Rowland for 11th place as weaving to the inside to try and defend. It's Malia.
Canamassas
trying to go. Canamassas trying to go around the outside. He's keeping his foot in all the way around the outside. And what a move that is by Sergio Canamassas. Absolutely wonderful stuff. And he really committed and had to have a lot of faith in Malia to make the move, but not only is he up from 15th on the grid, he's now up to 7th in the race.
Yeah, around Romain Grosjean corner. Absolutely wonderful from Canamassas, but I think you could see King just on the restart there was still fuming about the fact he thought he'd been passed under virtual safety car.
Oh, and is that him off the road at the top of turn 9? I think it is, and Matsushita's going to get him into turn 10. Sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all.
And he goes round the outside to the ART driver, benefiting from the mistake, and that is worth 2 points to him at the moment.
King's just got to get himself calmed down. Here we've got a replay of Canamassas going around the outside of Malia. It is a wonderful move. It's not an easy place to pass. Luckily, we haven't got too much of a marble build-up at the moment because rain overnight really cleared the track, but at the same time, it's kept it green and it's kept it slippery. And he's done a wonderful move, but King is just frustrating himself. You can see the red mist has come down on him. Couldn't get back with Canamassas, and we've got Alex Lynn in as soon as the pit window opens.
So 35 seconds from the pit lane limiter line to make a pit stop here in Barcelona, and it's oh so slow at this stage. He's looking for his Dams boys as Pierre Gasly setting the fastest lap of the race, the first in GP2 for Prima, who they wouldn't believe their luck, but right at the end of the pit lane, and we've also got Jordan King in as well. So the hard tyres, and it's taking a little while to get the left front on there. That's cost Lynn a bit of time. Remember, only one man per tyre in GP2, and they're under so much pressure. And look at the amount of time that Alex Lynn has lost there.
Absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. That's going to drop him out of a fight for the podium right down, but 30 laps to go. There's a long, long way to go yet in GP2.
So it's now Gasly, Nato, Sorokin, Latifi benefiting from his teammate coming into the pits, and Artem Markelov getting ever closer to the Dams driver. I mentioned that he scored a 5th place in the sprint race this time last year. He is looking very comfortable indeed, and I don't think there would have been many people to say Markelov running ahead of Marcello in this weekend, as we look at Marcello's compatriot Luca Giotto having to watch on and looking suitably frustrated.
Yeah, it's not the way he wanted this season to start, as you said. As we look at Markelov now, putting Latifi under some pressure. So, yeah, great run from the Russian time driver. Sergio Canamassas then coming through the final corner, and yeah, lap times settling out now around the mid 1 minute 34s for the leaders. Latifi last time around, though, a 35.2. Markelov just a 10th or so off that.
So still without DRS at the end of the main straight. The pit straight is one of 2 main DRS zones on this circuit, and you can see it's now been enabled. So Markelov, if he can't get it done this lap, is certainly going to be able to get it done because DRS worth about 0.4 of a second. At least it was last year. And he's so close already to the back of Latifi, who on those hard tyres, he's just trying to manage and doesn't, of course, have the extent of experience on the Pirelli rubber that the man behind him does.
Yeah, he's got to be careful not to overwork his tyres. He's got to try and make these last for about another 22 laps, if we think about it. If these tyres, with the soft tyres, are only lasting 6-7 laps, admittedly on heavy fuel, you might stretch that to 8 or 9 at the end. But he can't overwork his tyres. It's Latifi, who did all of that winter running, both of those boys on looking at a long run pace. I'd look at Latifi as the sort of the pace you want to be running on those tyres, given the knowledge that they've got over the winter. And, you know, if Markelov's really harrying him now, he wants to be careful not to overwork them.
So he's going to get a terrific opportunity as we go back to the lead. And the gap is exactly 1 second. The gap at the last sector for these guys was 0.3, just gone up to 4 as they come through the final sector. So can Markelov get the move done? Let's find out as we head back onto the pit straight. We've got Sorokin coming through our field now. This is for 4th place. You see he deploys, he pulls the left flap on his steering wheel, the wing opens, and he's drawing in the slipstream. You can see Latifi driving on his mirrors, goes to the inside. Can Markelov go all the way around the outside of turn 1? He's being forced wide, so close to contact, and my word, he had to take a huge chunk of curb, and you can see how much he's lost. The Canamassas is drawing in on Markelov, who was given a huge squeeze by Nicholas Latifi.
Oh, he's going to love that, isn't he? Yeah, that was pretty forceful from Latifi. I don't think that was unfair from Latifi. I've got to say, I thought that was pretty solid defence. Here we go. You see him looking in his mirrors. He moves to the defensive line, swerves back a little bit, but not back onto the racing line again. Holds the wide line and just says, I'm still here, mate. You're going to have to jump across. And Markelov not lifting out of it in time. Big bump. That'll have, yeah, that will have woken him up.
It's one of those corners, turn 1. If you're going to jump it, you've got to jump it properly in order not to lose time. And he is set back. It's 7/10 between Nato and Gasly at the front. And you can see Nato just about within DRS when the DRS was enabled, and that has got him, well, closer than he was the lap before. And crucially, he's just a 10th behind Gasly's first sector on this lap.
Well, a 10th behind first sector, 2/10 behind second sector. If Nato can, if Gasly can do the same in the third sector, he should have over a second and get Nato out of DRS range.
All going well for the man that has not won in GP2 so far. As you see, Gasly, Nato, and it's 0.8 of a second. So Nato's strength coming in that final sector. He's not as quick, and look how close he is now as we come to the end of the straight and turn 1. So all of the time being gained in that final sector, which is so crucial around here. And here's Canamassas and Markelov. Markelov was trying to pass at this corner 1 lap ago. Now he's trying to fend off a man who loves a bit of wheel-to-wheel combat as they go through turn 3. The G-force increasing on the driver's necks, and turn 4, very dangerous indeed. 1 lock brake and you are into the gravel trap, but Markelov's done enough for this lap. But the problem is Canamassas is going to have DRS from turn 9 down to 10.
He's looking so punchy today, Canamassas. Really nice. You know, he's well within himself at the moment. None of the excess that we've seen in years gone by. Racing absolutely beautifully. Impressive stuff from the Spaniard.
Back to the gap at the front. So interesting to see once again. Nato, though, was quicker by a 10th than Gasly in the first sector. We'll see when they come to the next. These matched him. So it was 0.8 of a second. If we see the same sort of sector differential between the front two, it's going to be very close indeed. Back for the battle for 5th and 6th. We've got Markelov in 5th. We've got Canamassas in 6th. And you can see how close Nato is able to get. Racing Engineering talking about competing for the championship. A few eyebrows were raised at that because King said it and Nato said it, but Nato is right there. Let's see what it's like across the line. It's a pretty big gap. It's going to get very, it was 0.8 across the line last time, so it's going to get really tight down there. Gasly will know that, has a quick check of his mirrors, and not quite. But Nato is banging on the door for the lead of this race.
Nato is driving this absolutely beautifully. He's putting Gasly under just enough pressure. We were talking about earlier about Markelov not overworking his tyres. If you watch him at the end of the backstretch with the second DRS zone coming up the hill, he's spinning his rears. He's putting way too much into them. He's abusing the rear tyres too much. We've seen him now drop back from that battle he was having with Latifi. And in the fight to keep ahead of Canamassas, Markelov, I think, is just way overworking his tyres as we get the Trident in. And wheels flying all over the place, and he's so careful of that.
Hilo pads Armand into the pits for his first stop in GP2. A little bit slow. And in front we've got Marvin Kirchhofer, the man who finished third in GP3 in 2015. Just found himself really unlucky to be in such a quality year with Ocon and Giotto. His points total in GP3 would have been good enough to win the championship in other years as we return to the battle for 5th place.
18% of the field sponsored by fried chicken this year, apparently.
Certainly very bright in the paddock this year, I'll say that much about it, as Canamassas once again trying to haul in. Markelov seems to have settled down at the moment. The gap at the front, just to keep you updated, is 0.6 of a second.
Yeah, and Nato's lost half a second in Sector 2 on that lap, and now the gap's up to 1.3 across the line, so Gasly's just doing everything he needed to do really over the last few laps to keep him behind, and now stretches legs as Sorokin is getting pretty tasty. He's just a second behind, and that last lap around almost half a second quicker than Nato. I think that was just that middle sector though that Nato got so wrong.
That's the problem. Once you fall out of DRS range, it's really very problematic. As we're looking at Nabil Jeffrey in the Arden, the Malaysian driver on his first GP2 start in 21st position. There's still not much between them at the front, but you can see how much that Sorokin has drawn in. The man famed for his consistency is making the tyres work at this stage.
Nato is dropping time in every sector. I wonder if in trying to keep up with Gasly and in trying to push him in these early laps, he too has overworked the tyres. As we said, I mean, the difference in temperature between testing to now is something like 15 degrees centigrade. That's night and day in terms of how much you can push your tyres. If we look back at last year, racing engineering with Alexander Rossi, the majority of races in which Rossi found himself in a position to be fighting for the lead ultimately came to naught because the tyre strategy never quite worked out for them. And I wonder if we're going to see the same thing here today, because with just 12 laps gone, Nato is dropping.
Yeah, racing engineering had that problem all the way through last year. Dams to a lesser extent. You're absolutely right, Will, that we had that exact scenario last year. Van Dorn on an alternate strategy to Rossi, but the tyres for Rossi and Mitch Evans that day giving up with 5 laps to go, and Van Dorn was able to cruise home as he dominated the feature races of 2015. And Nato has been able to respond by a 10th, but Sorokin is the man on the move at the moment. Let's have a little look down the order to see where Alex Lynn has got to. He's 40 seconds off the lead, and he's got rid of his soft tyres.
Well, he's running comparative times to the race leader. His last time around was a 35.9. Race leader Gasly's running 35.9s in clean air. Lynn's very lucky at the moment. He's got a 20-second gap to Gilal just down the road from him, and he needs that. He needs that clean air in order to make these tyres work and not abuse them, because he's got to run to the end of the race. What's going to be interesting is when Gasly's tyres start to go off, how long he dares risk staying out there. As you said, it's what, about a 35-second pit lane delta?
Seconds.
With 40, the gap at the moment, Gasly can only afford a couple of laps once he hits that cliff before he's going to be under pressure from Lynn. But the decision to pit when they have is working out perfectly for Lynn at the moment. 20 seconds of clear air ahead of him.
And no restrictions on what they can say to the drivers in GP2, unlike Formula 1 this year, so communication not limited.
Although most of it's probably not broadcastable.
Most of it definitely isn't broadcastable, from what I've heard after sessions last year. Gasly, Nato, and Sorokin ever closer. Having to be patient, though. This is GP2 in 2016. You've got to know how to manage the tyres, and he's getting very, very close indeed. 7 tenths across the line, DRS open. That will get him within 3/10 maybe at the end of the straight, and Nato has gone from attack to defense in a matter of 3 laps.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to be within half a second, I think, coming across the lines and really have a go coming down into turn 1. And it's going to have to be a very opportunistic lunge and hope that the guy ahead freaks himself out and locks his brakes, because without that, he's just not going to be close enough. But, you know, it's first day of the season. Still time for someone to do something crazy.
It's pretty static at the moment, which we sometimes seem to see around the Circuit de Catalunya. We are having a look at this, the battle for 13th on the racetrack between Ollie Rowland trying to take it off Gustav Malya, who we saw involved in drama at the start of the race, and Jordan King, who looks to have calmed himself down after a really difficult few early laps for the British driver, who wasn't happy with the balance of his car, but he said he did know what needed addressing today. So the one positive, if there can be a positive when you qualify down the order and your teammate is on the front row.
Yeah, everything's just starting to settle down now. The leaders, well, pretty much everyone in the top 10 running mid to high 135s. Just that mid-race lull that we get to before the final pit stops. It's always a nice time to gather your breath, gather your thoughts,
and reassess where we are. It's great to have GP2 back. Long off season, as I said. One of the interesting things, I was speaking to Didier, the technical director, earlier, and he was talking about the lack that these drivers can change from the steering wheel. We see, I mean, it's a daft amount of buttons on a Formula One steering wheel. The drivers can only really change what they see on their display. They've got DRS, of course, they've got a pit limiter, and that's it. So if your setup isn't where it needs to be, like Jordan King's wasn't yesterday, and you're not able to do anything about it, you just have to live with it for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, you're not messing around with engine modes, etc., with this. It's not a basic car. It's about as complex as you're going to get outside of Formula One. But that rawness, that pureness of, I think it's why we love GP2 so much. It is raw, pure racing, and it is stick a driver in a car without traction control, you know, and just go at it. And it's why it proves such a good proving ground for young drivers, because it's the best versus the best in equal machinery, where there are no tricks. There's no getting around it.
So we have Jordan King on the defensive from Gustav Malya, checking his mirrors coming out of turn 2. There's a Swedish driver who started this race in 6th place, his personal best in GP2 qualifying. And it's going to get to a stage soon with Malya where it's pass or be passed, because Ollie Rowland is keeping his eye on this battle and looking to make a move as soon as possible. Rowland was talking about how he wasn't particularly happy with the testing that he had with the MP Motorsport team. Said he didn't really get the balance to his liking, and to make matters worse, when they were here in Barcelona earlier in the year, he had a lung infection, and I can't imagine driving one of these cars with a lung infection is much fun at all.
Oh no, the pressure on your chest must be horrible with something like that. We look at all these guys, every one of these has made their one compulsory pit stop so far, so they are racing for position. It is, you know, this is real now for them, and if they can keep making the positions up, making the time up on the leaders as they hit the cliff, you know, these boys could very quickly find themselves not just playing for points, but playing for a podium.
So that is what they have on offer at the moment. The lead on the road, 1st, 2nd and 3rd, as you were. Sorokin dropped back a little bit. He's still getting DRS in the 2 zones available to him, but he's not able to make a dent in. It's staying at 0.8 of a second. I reckon he's managing the tyres of that ART, because he's just done a personal best in the 1st sector. He is improving when he needs to, as Malya, with the use of DRS, not getting any closer to Jordan King, who's fairly quick in a straight line this afternoon. One thing going in his advantage at the moment.
Yeah, they've got probably a good another 12 laps, 14 laps before they want to come in and pit. So they're going to have to keep on looking after their tyres and really just not pushing too hard. As if, you know, this is the time of the race, unfortunately, that it does start to bed down. But it gives us an opportunity to, I think, to sort of discuss the wider look at GP2 this year. You were talking about favourites, and it's funny because I think this is one of those seasons where there isn't an out-and-out favourite like we had last year with Stoffel van Dorn, and you just thought, right, you know, Stoffel's coming in here. We know he's a mega. He's an out-and-out mega talent, and he's the one that everyone's gunning for. And really, I mean, he almost doubled the points of Alexander Rossi last year. It was an absolute demolition job. But here this year, I don't think we should. You know, we should view the field as being any less of Van Dorn's quality just because there isn't an absolute clear favourite for the title. It's like the year when we had, you know, Sam Bird and Fabio Lima and Stefano Coletti, and, you know, the level is high. And that's why there isn't a favourite. You could look all the way down. You look at Gasly, Nato, Sorokin. You look at, you know, at drivers like Marcello, like Alex Lynn, like Ollie Rowland, Giovinazzi, you know, and Mitch Evans in the bargain bucket car. There is absolutely no out-and-out favourite. And the combination of either rookies with proper talent or experienced drivers needing to make their point. These are the seasons that we love, because, you know, we could go 10 races in and have a different winner for the first 10 races.
Well, I was going to say we're going to get a lot of race winners this year, purely because of the nature of the weekend with the sprint race and the fact that everyone is so evenly matched. But there are so many different narratives that are so interesting in this season. You've got Gasly having to perform or getting booted out of the Red Bull program. Who
do they replace him with, though?
Well, that's
I know they've just signed a 15-year-old, but that's ridiculous.
That's the joy of having the funding that Red Bull do have. And Norman Nato, who showed glimpses last year. He's running in a podium position at Monza, had a penalty, had it taken away, took that quite well in the paddock. So he had that. We've got the consistency of Sorokin, but the question on Sorokin is, does he have those final 2/10 that make a good driver great?
He's close to Nato coming out of that final corner. It's still 7/10, but he's still he's there or thereabouts. If Nato makes a mistake or his tyres start to go off, Sorokin's right there. Getting
ever closer, and Nato really under pressure, and has been under pressure for 10 laps now. And down the order, you have drivers like Latifi, who has that Renault deal. He's got his super license. He's going to be running in Formula One free practice. He knows that he's got every chance to impress. And then Markelov, who, as you said, gets better and better every single time we see it.
And it's a big shame Ocon's not in the field this year. I would love to have seen him step up to GP2. Obviously, he's moved over to DTM instead, which, you know, I think that's a bit of a shame. But
it's the route Mercedes choose for their drivers, isn't it? That's the way they almost like to take the pressure off them. I had a driver this week say that the quality of the field in GP2 and GP3, you can sometimes shoot yourself in the foot coming to compete against such a talented field.
It's true. I've got to say, GP3 this year, I don't think I've ever seen such a brilliant lineup in GP3 as we have this year. You look at ART's lineup just as a simple example of that. I mean, absolute quality in every single seat. And I'm really looking forward to the GP3 this year.
Sergei Sorokin, we have GP3 coming up right after this race. But at the moment, Sorokin trying to make an impression. He has the podium currently in his grasp. And you can see this is the part of the circuit where, compare that to qualifying, compare that on board to qualifying, where they're wrestling the car, where they're fighting the car. And that looks so very slow because he's having to manage those hard Pirelli tyres, the prime tyres, as he comes across the line. A circuit that doesn't always lend itself to overtaking. DRS brought in to mimic Formula One so the drivers could be prepared as possible. But of course, they had to be aware of it because last year there were a few issues with DRS. So this is the first time that we've ever seen it played out in the race conditions here in GP2.
Yeah, they had a bit of a mistake with that, didn't they? Had some technical issues with DRS here last year, but you know, good to see that it's working well. If you're going to have it, then make sure it works, make sure it's equal for everybody. And we did see some good racing last year. It might have taken a slight element of the shine away from some of the overtaking maneuvers, but, you know, still with these guys, you know that an overtaking move pulled off in a GP2 race is still a proper move. It might be a little bit easier now, but I don't know. I don't think there's ever such a thing as an easy overtaking move.
Certainly not, and you still see in this series the sort of glorious move that Canamassas was able to pull on Malia at the start of the race.
That was nice.
And he
had to do it. He had to, you know, as we see in those opening laps of the race, you've got to pull those moves out because now is the time when everybody's starting to sit on their tyres. You know, Lynn is still putting in 135.8. Leader Gasly's down to a 135.9. Those behind him are dropping into the 36s. We may be starting to see the times drop, but Lynn is now 41.7 back from Gasly. So Gasly's doing a perfect job of maintaining that 40-second advantage that he's going to need to make that pit stop and emerge with his lead intact. And don't forget, of course, Lynn had that slow pit stop.
He did indeed, and that looks to have really cost him. There's some ominous weather in the distance, how that would throw a curveball in the mix of this opening feature race of the 2016 GP2 season. We're beyond halfway The order's been pretty static at the front for a long while now. The top three won't be complaining about that at all. Lynn really paying, and we see Ollie Rowland further down the order, putting in the fastest first sector. So the guys that have pitted earlier on now beginning to push, and you can see Rowland with a 4/10 advantage on the man in front. He's decided that he's had enough at staring at the back of the Rapax's rear wing, and he's going to try and pass Gustav Malja for 13th, which of course could be far higher when it shakes out later on.
Talking to Marvin Kirchhofer just before the race this afternoon, he said he was going to do a rain dance because it was the only way that he was going to actually improve his race. He wasn't expecting to have to change his front wing at the start of the race either. Really not going to plan for him at Carlin this weekend. He's a quality driver. I really rate Marvin Kirchhofer. I know you've seen him obviously racing in GP3 last year, but I think he's a super fast guy, and once he gets up to speed with Carlin, you know, I think we can probably put him in the mix as well for podiums and potentially race wins this season. But yeah, if those clouds do roll in, and they've rolled in about sort of 5 p.m. over the last 2 days.
That's exactly what happened yesterday, isn't it? Which well, it meant that we didn't have much to look at in practice for GP3, and that's not what Ollie Rowland needs at all. Any lock-up is painful, and that really could cost him. He's getting closer, though.
Well, it was Malja who locked up initially, and I think that sort of caught Ollie unawares. It was a big lock-up from Malja, which brought him back towards Rowland, who then just snatched the front right on coming down, was it front left, coming down into that corner. But yeah, he's putting him under big pressure now, and Malja can feel it. Into the DRS zone. Is he close enough?
Now, it never really seems to work down the back straight, does it? It seems to be far more effective with the headwind that you get down at turn 1.
Here we go.
Looking at Ollie Rowland in the MP Motorsport car, and it's one of these things, you see this a lot in Monaco, where he goes slightly wide.
Yeah, I thought it was Malja, but you're right, it was just Ollie that made that lock-up.
Slightly wide, and that is the problem. That is the balance. That's the fine tightrope walk that they all have to do. Can you push? Can you get past the guy in front? But also, if you lock up, if you do that 3 more times, your race is run. It's really as simple as that.
Well, especially because he doesn't have another pit stop. He's got to run these tyres to the end. And of course, that, you know, you get close to the car ahead, the front wing starts to wash out, you lose the downforce, and that affects you massively under the braking because you need that extra weight of the downforce pushing that front wing down to help you, you know, slow the car down.
Back to the battle for 2nd and 3rd on the road. We've got Latifi still keeping a watching brief in 4th. Markelov in 5th. Canamassas maintains his position in 6th place. Matsushita is 7th. Marcello is 8th. De Jong 9th. He hasn't scored many points, so he'll be hoping maybe for the rain, maybe for something to go wrong for those behind him on the alternate strategy. At the moment, the advantage very much with those who started the race on hard tyres, the prime tyres. We're over the line once more and on board with Sergei Sorokin. Can he finally get close enough to make a move? He's not going to be quite close enough as he brakes at about 80 meters for the corner, throws it in from 190 miles an hour, and then doesn't want to get too wide out of 2 because he can spit you offline through 3. Really great flowing section to start the lap here in Barcelona.
It was a great shot as well to see how much the marbles are picking up offline, and that's going to make overtaking difficult in the last few races here. These guys have played the strategy absolutely perfectly. When they come in to stop in about 5-6 laps time, you know, they'll be on the softest rubber, the lightest fuel load. They'll be the quickest guys out on track. Their times are dropping now into the 136s. Alex Lynn is in the 136s as well. I don't think it's going to work out for him today. I really don't. You know, I think maybe the best that he's going to be able to hope for is possibly even reverse grid pole for tomorrow, the way it's going.
Not the start to the season the British driver was expecting. He's been pretty calm all weekend. He's been pretty relaxed with the progress that they made on their long run pace in winter testing. And Sorokin getting ever closer.
It's taken 3/10 out of Nato in the first sector there. He's getting very close.
He seems to, Nato does have, and it really is the most important sector of the racetrack though, in that final sector. He's just about close away.
Sorokin's so close, mate, coming through these final few corners. I think he's going to have a good look at him down into turn 1.
He's been building this up for 10 laps or so. Nato, of course, who was battling Gasly for the lead at one point. And here we go. Let's see if Sergei Sorokin can do it then. Rear wing flap open. Is Nato going to be able to defend? We go on board with the Russian driver in the ART for the first time in GP2. He's getting closer, but it's not going to be enough. And Nato is doing enough lap after lap in that final sector. And that is when you really need the traction, when you need the mechanical grip from those rear Pirellis.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think Sorokin just got a little bit too closer in that final sector. Again, lost the front wing, and he lost a tenth of a second through there. If he'd had that extra tenth of a second, it would have been that 0.5 that we're talking about that's really nice. But look how close he's getting to him down here. Yeah, I mean, it's on. It's really on. I don't know if that's Nato's tyres or Sorokin knowing that now is the time that I got to push.
So Sorokin isn't giving up on the win at the moment. He is currently 2 seconds away from Gasly. This is very much doable for the Russian driver, the test driver, of course, in free practice for the Renault Formula One team a few weeks ago. And now he's full focus, he said, not on that Renault deal, not on running in free practice, on securing the GP2 title. And now we're riding on board with him, where he looks very close now. But these are the corners. Oh, he's almost nudging him through the final sector of this lap. And you see just so Nato just has a bit on him through the chicane, but it's looking good for Sorokin. We've said that. Great traction out of the final corner, and that's what's kept Nato ahead for all of these laps. Careful not to dip a wheel.
Half a second.
On the AstroTurf on the outside. Sorokin a tenth closer than he was this time.
Yes.
Is he going to have a lunge? No. Not yet. And it's all off that final corner. It's all the traction off that final corner, because you could see, he spun it! He spun round!
No.
He takes his hand off the steering wheel. Oh, and he was so close to getting collected by Latifi and Sorokin, who looked like he was just having to wait. Oh, my word, we've got the cars coming across Sorokin, and my word, it looked like he was going to be in contention for the win, and Sergei Sorokin has stalled it and thrown it all away.
Oh, you muppet.
Oh,
he's going to want to punch himself in the face after that. That's absolute. He's just going to be fuming. I can't even begin to imagine how frustrated he's going to be with that.
He'd already taken his hand off the steering wheel in sheer frustration, and we have a safety car because of the stall. Well, that was a slow burner, lap after lap. We were waiting. Oh, you don't let us see that. Cars coming across, and thankfully now with the safety car deployed, the drivers will all be radioed, and Sorokin not only has spun out of this race.
Sorry, guys. I don't know how is it possible. Sorry.
Oh, listen to that. That is a broken man.
Absolutely dismal on the radio as he apologizes to ART. And Sorokin, not only has he spun out of this race, but because of where he's stuck on the racetrack, he's had to sit there and think about it whilst he's watched the entire field file past him.
Now the leaders come into the pits. Gasly and Nato choose to jump in now before they hit the safety car. Absolutely the right decision, because otherwise they would have got all bunched up behind, and that 41+ second advantage that they had to Alex Lynn would have been erased in a heartbeat. It's a good stop from Gasly, and away he goes. Great stuff. First competitive pit stop for the Prema guys at the lead of the race. Can Nato, though, and the racing engineering boys, with all of their experience, get out ahead of him? In comes Latifi. Gasly through. Oh, no, and there's a slight delay on the rear left. And that's enough. That's it. Done. Gasly's out and maintains position.
It was going to be very difficult indeed, wasn't it, for racing engineering to beat the effort of Prema in the pit stop there, because that was really something very impressive. And we've still got Sorokin's car on the racetrack, and you see Gasly having to slow down. But that was a super stop, considering it was their first one. As we go back to the incident that has us under safety car conditions, Sorokin, he's going to be accelerating out of turn 2. He can see second place, and then around he goes, and that's what I was talking about. He knew almost as soon as he'd done it. And then the stall, tried to pull in the clutch, tried to keep his race going, but just accelerating out of 2, and that shows you the fine line. That shows you the balancing act they're having to perform with the tyres lap after lap, when to push.
You can't imagine, guys. I'm sorry. I'm the biggest idiot on the planet.
Oh, man. I feel for him. I really feel for him. And you can hear how much he's kicking himself there. And you say it is easy to do. He just took a little bit too much curb, overjuiced it on exit of the corner. And, I mean, look, no one's going to be more angry, more disappointed than himself. He knows that on the biggest stage, he's just thrown away, not just a chance at a podium, but looking at the pace he had and how much they've been able to keep Gasly just at arm's length ahead of them. there could have been top step at the podium for him today. He knows that.
He was definitely in the mix for a win. Gasly only 2 seconds down the road. But now we have a completely reset race, and we're going to have some drama in the final laps.
Well, and here's the thing. We've now got 12 laps left, and as we saw at the start of the race, these soft tyres are only lasting for 7. The last 5 laps of this, and okay, we're on lighter fuel loads. Last sort of 5-6 laps of this could get very spicy indeed.
Exactly what the likes of Alex Lynn, Jordan King, and Gustav Malia needed. Thrown into the mix, Ollie Rowland as well.
The race is gonna go on time, okay? The race will go on time.
Oh yeah, it will. 14 minutes and 30 seconds left. Ooh, look, rain. It's definitely raining in Granollers. I wonder if that's going to arrive in the next 14 minutes.
It looks like it's going to arrive in time for GP3, which was already going to be exciting enough with 15 rookies heading down to turn 1 for the first time. Back to GP2.
Before we go back, before the safety car comes in, I just wanted to say something I noticed about Prema this weekend. In the Formula 1 pit lane, all the way down, you have markers attached to the barriers that point to each of the Formula 1 pit boxes, so the drivers know where to turn in. All of the Formula 1 teams have them, and alongside all of the F1 teams, there is a Prema turn-in board, the only GP2 team that has one. That is how well prepared these guys are. They have stepped the bar up as we ride back on board with Sorokin again.
They are hugely successful, of course, Prema in Formula 3, where they have been so impressive. That is the reason we're behind the safety car. That is the reason that the super consistent Sergei Sorokin is out of this race. And we were talking earlier about how many different winners we could have. As you see, once again, just on the power, agonizingly early. And he knew what he'd done before the rear had even gone round. But with so many potential winners this year, consistency is going to be crucial to take this title. And he's just thrown away a potential 25 points.
Yeah, well, it's double-digit points, whichever way you look at it, he's thrown away, isn't it? Lights out on the safety car. We're going to be going back to racing. And can Gasly do what he's been doing all race so far? We remember where he punched it last time on the restart. It was just before they came in to the chicane at the end, top of the hill, coming into that right-hander. Will he do the same thing again? Will Nato be wise to it, having been left at the drop once before?
Nato having nearly been nudged through this sector by Sorokin a few laps ago, now with a real chance to put major pressure. And Gasly has not gone in the same place that he went. And he really has. Nato much, much closer than he was on the restart we had earlier in this race. The safety car is in. Gasly is about to take us racing once again in Barcelona with the laps counting down. Latifi checking his mirrors to see where Canamassas is. He's in 4th position. And Alex Lynn trying to maintain the tyres. As you see, all the marbles.
That's a huge amount of marbles. I thought his tyre was starting to let go that rear right. Absolutely incredible.
Oh, there's Markelov making a move on Jordan King. Opportunistic. And we started calling opportunistic moves Markelov's last year. And you can see why. That is absolutely sensational. Catches the British driver napping. And clean as you like, he's up the road. And he can try and do something about the next Brit in front of him. That's Alex Lynn, as Malia is defending from Rowland, who knows he's got to get it done as early as possible. Meanwhile, Nato is still pressuring, and he's not going to do it again, is he? He is!
And it's the difference, mate, between the soft tyres and those hard tyres. Markelov knows he's got to make them work for him now. Use that soft tyre, use that fresh rubber. Bang, 2 drivers in as many corners. Beautiful stuff from the Russian.
He is really making it work at this restart. How far can Artem Markelov get? Remember, of course, we did see him in the early part of the race as we have a battle for the lead. No DRS, of course. Nato trying it! Nato going for the move! Is there going to be contact between the two Frenchmen? Boom! What a move from Norman Nato to take the lead as Latifi tries to follow him through. And Gasly didn't think Nato was going to throw it down the inside, but he did. And that's about as committed as you can get in GP2. What a way to take the lead. And he's got 10 laps to go in order to secure his first victory. Gasly, who looks for so long like he's going to take his first win, is now defending for 3rd.
He's struggling. He's really struggling. Ever since these soft tyres have gone on, he can't get them turned on. Gasly is dropping like a stone. Nato's disappearing up off the track. Look out for Canamassas. Look out for Latifi. Gasly, who should have had this race win sewn up, it's now not looking too great for him.
He's got to keep his head at this point. He's got to keep himself in this race. He's seen Nato disappear up the road. It doesn't have to all fall apart for the Frenchman. Prima, who thought they were going to stand on the top step and have a absolute dream weekend, well, it's turned into a bit of a nightmare, and you can see Latifi and have the tyres gone for Gasly, because he's under huge pressure right now.
I just don't think he warmed them up enough under the safety car. You look at that first lap out from under the safety car, Nato at 34.5, Gasly 36.0.
This was the move that potentially could decide the race, and that really was so bold. Down the inside, Gasly having to get out of the optimum line. If they didn't touch, it was so very close, and Gasly would not have believed his eyes through turn number 10.
And you could see in that replay, Nato knew how much that meant. He gave himself a little nod, a little punch of, yes, mate, got it done. Absolutely beautiful stuff. What was wonderful is he put the move in. Gasly saw it coming, and Nato kept himself stuck in there. Gasly, I think, discretion being the better part of valor, left himself, just gave that little bit of room, and decided, I think, crucially, not to lock up. And because he's got to keep those tyres till the end. So very, very measured. There's time to fight back, though. Much time to fight back, 9 laps.
Well, Nato had been studying Gasly's gearbox for such a long part of this race. As you see on your screen, a 5-second time penalty for Sean Galayo, who is at the bottom end of this field. He's in 15th at the moment. And Nato underlining how quick he is at this stage, as Artem Markelov getting very close indeed to Sergio Canamassas in 4th place. Markelov has had a podium before in GP2. He achieved that in Spa. He's going for another one today.
And now DRS is enabled. Alfonso D'Orleans Bourbon puts his hand out from behind him, checking for the rain. His boy is leading the race. Look, I think you see a little bit of raindrop starting to fall down there. Is that it's at turn 4? Do we have rain yet? Do we see it on any cameras? I'm not convinced that we do, but I think Alfonso certainly is concerned about that rain. It is going to be timed. 8 minutes and 20 seconds left, and it still could all change.
Well, we've already seen one incredibly dramatic twist as a man who could have won this race, Sergei Sorokin, spun out, and he's put an entirely different complexion on the first feature race of the year, which was so static for so long. And has Gasly been able to recover? Markelov deciding that it wasn't a good idea to try a Nato, and we have Armand, the other Trident, a disastrous first race of the season. Neither Trident getting to the finish. As Gasly, has he managed to gather himself together? No, is the answer, because we have Nicholas Latifi, the fastest man in the first sector, and gaining on the Frenchman, who will have to regroup. The rain could change everything, of course. So much to play for, so much up for grabs in the final few laps of this race. And Canamassas, well, he's had a couple of podiums, but he's under real threat now. Markelov with the run.
Big pressure, big pressure, big pressure. Markelov going for the outside line. A little lock up from Canamassas.
Is he going to be out? Is Markelov going to go round the outside? He's already tried it, and Canamassas was wise to it and gave him the squeeze, but he's offline now through 3. That's going to be slowing him down all the way up the hill. As we head to 4, we've seen Markelov try all the way through this race to get through down the inside, but he's not quite close enough at the moment. Gaining with every meter out of that corner, though. And Canamassas is going to have to defend once again.
This is great. I don't want to say I've missed this. This is awesome. Nato doing a beautiful job right now. 1.3 seconds the advantage over Gasly. No chance then in the DRS. Latifi is coming hard and fast. Markelov so nearly around the outside of Canamassas, and Canamassas not doing anything silly. Very reserved but also very, very solid in his defensive lines around there. Wonderful stuff from the Spaniard.
In the middle sector of this lap, in the battle for the lead, as we see Racing Engineering checking.
Yeah, a little punch of the air then from Alfonso.
See if the rain, they can see it on the radar. Are we going to get it? We're under time. Remember, when the clock runs out, we will have 1 lap at the end of it. It's not the old rule of the checker flag falling as soon as the clock goes to 0. So, important to bear in mind as we come around the final corner. What's Markelov got for Canamassas this time? Very close over the line, half a second. That's been enough to compete into turn 1 from what we've seen earlier in this race. Markelov taking a huge chunk of time. Surely he's going to try down the inside. We know he's going to try down the inside, and we know Canamassas is going to defend with absolutely everything he's got, and that really was so robust, and he knew He knew he had to do that, and Canamassas knows his way around his home circuit. He's desperate for a good result here. Remember, Canamassas started this race in 15th place, and they're now battling over 4th.
Mega drive from Sergio Canamassas today, doing everything. And don't forget, he was a very last-minute call-up to Carlin this weekend. It was, I think it was only Thursday morning, in fact, when he was confirmed in that drive, but driving absolutely beautifully, as you say, up from 15th. Currently sitting in P4, but my word, Markelov, not an easy driver to keep behind you. And there in the background of it all is Alex Lynn.
And that is what is so impressive about Nato's move to currently hold the lead, is that he made it in a part of the racetrack we haven't really seen anyone else overtake today. Markelov thinking about it into turn 10, but can't do it.
And without the DRS.
So impressive. And it might be enough. He's 4 minutes away, but we go on board with Lynn, and just waiting to see whether they are drops of rain or whether that's the usual muck and grime that accumulates on the camera lens.
And the boys up ahead are so lucky this is going to time, because the tyres will start to go off within a matter of laps, and then Lynn on these hard tyres will be the one to really take that advantage out of them. And now Nato, his fastest time, a 1:36.4. You compare that to what he was doing a couple of laps ago. He's already lost 2 seconds.
Here's Latifi, and Gasly's having to defend. He's to the inside. Can Latifi go through and up into second? Gasly going very, very tight. That's going to really slow him down into 3. Latifi knows it. He's trying to go round the outside. And was that Canamassas and Markelov getting very close indeed in the background? At the moment, we're focusing on the battle for second, and Latifi can't do enough. Markelov, Lynn, and Canamassas defending from both of them in the battle for 4th place at the moment, but it's getting so close as Latifi, oh, maybe he could have thrown one down the inside. Will Lynn try it? No, a lock-up from Markelov, and he's so close to running in the back of the Carlin, but he gets away with it.
The softs are going off. 1:36 is not enough. Lynn can pull out 1:35s. It's coming to the boys on hard tyres now, and that is why Latifi's trying to make the move on Gasly. Those soft tyres are falling away.
So Lynn, who, remember, was a long way off the lead of this race, the hypothetical lead of the race. DRS for Latifi, but he hasn't got it at the moment. Here comes Markelov. Is he finally going to be able to make the move? No. He knows he's going to get the chop, and he keeps his nose cone out of danger. But he knows that he's got to get past soon, otherwise he's going to get gobbled up by Alex Lynn, who is on the superior tyres, and it's under 3 minutes to go, with Latifi very close indeed through the final sector of this lap. He's going to be, oh, so close. Surely with DRS he's going to be able to make the move.
Oh, mate, he can smell what he's had for lunch. I mean, coming through the final corner, this is going to be it. Down into turn 1.
Nicholas Latifi. Not many would have picked him to be the leading Dams car over the line. He's got 3rd place. It's a maiden podium at the moment. Gasly, who looked like he was going to win this race at one point, going down to 3rd place. Latifi up to 2nd, and Markelov has gone up to 4th place, past Canamassas, whose valiant effort has fallen short. He goes down to 5th. He's trying to hold that from Alex Lynn, but it's surely going to be easy pickings from the man from Essex down at some point of this lap. And Lynn would have wished it was going to the laps, because he would have been in the box seats.
Yeah, they're back up into the 35s now. Nato in the lead. Gasly's last lap was a 1:37. The softs are just falling away from him now. Will he even be able to hold on to a podium at the end of this race? It's coming under some, I think, under some intense scrutiny.
So those are the moves that you watched a moment ago. Gasly dropping to 3rd, Latifi up to 2nd, and Artem Markelov improves his position to 4th. And can Latifi get after? I mean, yeah, the gap between Latifi is now absolutely huge between him and Pierre Gasly. We've got the rear wing being used with the DRS, and you can see how much Alex Lynn has gained on Sergio Canamassas in the last few laps. Absolutely dominant stuff. Meanwhile, Latifi absolutely rapid on the racetrack at the moment, with the fastest first sector of anyone. Can he put Nato under any pressure? Remember, we will have a lap at the end of this one.
If Pierre Gasly continues to drop at the rate that he is, Markelov's going to have that final podium spot. There's no two ways about it. He's come in so fast.
We're on board with Alex Lynn, who's going to take the position away from Sergio Canamassas with real ease. You can see the problems if you don't have traction off that final turn. And now Alex Lynn is up to 5th place, a race that looked like he was going to be lucky to score points in. He's now up into 5th, which will give him a great chance tomorrow. And that really was nice and simple with the various compounds in the current situation that they are in. It's 1.3 seconds at the lead. Latifi is getting ever closer. Oh, there's contact!
Marcello.
Off into the gravel trap, and we have a yellow flag. He's beached. Will we require a safety car for that? It's very close to the racing line.
T4 down at turn 4. He was in a fight then with Jordan King and Giovinazzi behind him.
Let's see what happened. Oh, it's not even a move. Not even a move from Antonio Giovinazzi, the rookie driver, punting out Marcello. And are we about to have the safety car as we see the accident
and
once
punting
again?
him out of reverse grid pole?
Oh, it doesn't get more painful than that. He was pretty upbeat yesterday despite it not working. He said he had needed time to acclimatize to the new team. He's 3rd in 3 years, and we have a safety car which will end all of the excitement. Wow, we had to wait for that race to kick off, but when it did, my word, that was absolutely sensational.
I'll tell you what.
There's the checkered flag for Norman Nato, who wins for the first time in GP2, his first race for Racing Engineering, and he's on the top step of the podium.
I think the most relieved driver today is going to be Pierre Gasly, because if the safety car hadn't come out then, Markelov would have had a very good shout at taking that final podium position. But what a race from Norman Nato, so unexpected for Racing Engineering today. I would wonder whether Alfonso's actually got one of his cigars on him to celebrate that win.
His usual celebration ritual. We can light one up in a minute when he's on the inside of the circuit away from the pit lane. But my word, that was absolutely incredible.
I've got to say, you know, a huge shout for Prema. What a brilliant first race they've had. Not the win that it could have been, that it should have been possibly. Nato's radio.
Congratulations, mega job. Hey!
Wow, I expected slightly more from Norman Nato there after all of that work.
I think he's probably just amazed after a race like that, and given the pace that Gasly had shown. I mean, that's got to be one of the most surprising victories I've seen in a long time in this championship.
You have to feel for Pierre Gasly. He was doing everything right for so much of that race. He was controlling it. He was controlling the gap. He was out of DRS range. He was making it work on the tyres. The safety car comes out, and the next thing you know, he's down in 3rd.
And let's have a word for Nicholas Latifi. Not only the first Canadian to score points in GP2 history, but he's got a podium.
Superlative performance, really was. The leading Dams car, absolutely excellent. As Nato drinks in the applause.
Very good job, man. Very good job.
It certainly was a good job. That's somewhat of an understatement. Latifi there, absolutely brilliant as he soared through past Pierre Gasly. Oh, what an absolutely brilliant race that was. For so long, they were running in formation. Really, really impressive. And then it was that spin from Sergei Sorokin, wasn't it? Really changed the complexion of the race, brought out the safety car with him stranded on the exit of turn 2. And then Norman Nato with such a bold move. He gave Gasly no choice, did he? He gave Gasly absolutely no choice. I'm going to put my car here. We're either going to have an accident and gift the win to Latifi, or you're going to have to let me through. And Gasly deciding to open the door, that he wanted points. And that's not the move that's won him the race, but I wonder where those points will leave Pierre Gasly at the end of the season. 15 for 3rd. It's not the 25 he so desperately wanted, but on the evidence of what we've seen today, it won't be long until Gasly is standing on the top step. So after you feel for him, I don't think we'll have long to wait, although that must be a pretty disconsolate feeling in 3rd as you look across to your compatriot. And we said in the race, he has shown real flashes of speed. It's not easy to be a rookie in GP2. It's not easy to pull off the move he did to win the race, and he wholeheartedly deserves to drink in the applause. He is your race winner for the first time in 2016, we have a feature race winner, and it's Norman Nato. Congratulations all around, and thoroughly deserved a move to win any motor race, let alone one of this stature. And a little bit of trouble getting the steering wheel off. He's had to call in a mechanic. They're doing it the old-fashioned way, with a clenched fist and a bit of force. And Latifi just wants to get out and celebrate. For the moment, he's stuck. He won't mind at all. A terrific performance to climb onto the podium for the first time. Oh, I mean, and how bizarre is it? Oh my word! nearly a gut punch for Nicholas Latifi. No reward at all for his fine drive today. But he's finally able to get out of the car, given the steering wheel, and he finally gets to enjoy it now. So I don't know about you, but I did not have Nato, Latifi and Gasly as the order after qualifying. But what a first race of the year we were eventually treated to. So we get to see Gasly. We'll have more of a look at how he's reacting to a race that it looked nailed on that it was going to be his. Before Sorokin threw it off the road, and Nato threw it past him into turn 10. And here are the top three for the first feature race of 2016. And there's your race winner. Really, really fantastic stuff. Gasly congratulating his fellow Frenchman. Latifi in the Renault overalls, testing Formula One machinery from 2012 last week, on the podium in GP3 this week. And Gasly's face really does say it all. Still, we're quoting that stat, 958 days, I think someone said to me, it's been since he last won in single-seaters. The top three not exactly keen to discuss the race with each other, as they adjust the hair, the overalls, the caps, the watches, everything they need. And we await the first podium of the GP2 season. It's coming up, I promise. Elsewhere in the order, we had Markelov in fourth, fifth was Canamassas on home soil, and here come the top three. Led by Pierre Gasly, the man on pole, putting a brave face on it, not the step of the podium he wanted. A phenomenal first drive with dams for Nicholas Latifi in second, and with a box office move to claim first place in the first race of the year is Norman Nato, and we'll hear the French national anthem. The French national anthem played not for Pierre Gasly, but for Norman Nato. The surprise winner receives his trophy after an hour and 3 minutes of all the entertainment we've come to expect from the GP2 series. even when it looks like it's a static race, it's magic. Nicholas Latifi hoisting aloft a podium trophy for the first time with Dams, and Pierre Gasly scoring another podium. That's really not what he wanted. Another photo for the album. It's the 5th podium for Gasly, the first podium and win for Nato, and a first podium for Latifi. It's Gasly sportingly getting involved. Some drivers would have a sulk and not spray the champagne, but he's a great guy and superb stuff. Right, let's hear what they've got to say. Will's run up to the podium.
Wow, what an amazing way to get the 2016 season underway, guys. Come down to the front. Nicholas, congratulations. What a drive, well done. Sorry. Norman, incredible. Come down to the front, Pierre. Well done. Norman, is this a surprise to be on the top step of the podium today? What a great race. Talk us through your emotions on this brilliant race win today.
Yeah, no, a surprise now because we worked really hard during this winter. We knew that we had the possibility to fight for front row. We had a good quali yesterday, and Pierre made a really good job. But as I said yesterday, the most important was today. It was important to score points, and wow. Anyway, I'm really happy. I would like to say a big thanks to my team, but it's just the beginning of the championship, and we have to keep focused for tomorrow and for the rest of the championship.
Talk us through that move very quickly. You could almost see yourself, give yourself a little nod after you pulled it off through the corner.
We all know that in Barcelona it's quite difficult to overtake, so I was pretty close behind Pierre, so I say, okay, it's now or maybe I won't have the possibility anymore, so I just try. It passed, so I'm really happy.
Phenomenal job, well done. And Nicholas, a great job for you today on the podium. I know you spent all of the winter sort of working on your race runs. Did that really help you today?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time in the winter tests preparing for the race because from looking at the races last year, we saw qualifying on pole doesn't necessarily translate into race wins. So yeah, we did a lot of hard work during the winter. I can't thank the guys enough for the car they gave me. It was great. Would have been interesting to see with the one more lap that we had if I would have gotten a bit closer to Norman. But yeah, I'm so pleased. I think I didn't expect to be on the podium so soon in the season. We knew the potential was there from the testing. It was just, doing it when it counts during the race and during qualifying. So first race weekend to be on the podium already, I'm so happy for me and the team.
Many congratulations. Well done. And Pierre, to you, a podium's always got to make you happy, but the win was there today for you.
Yeah, of course, starting from the pole, I'm a bit disappointed to finish P3, but of course it's a good result for the team for their first race in GP2. They worked really hard during the winter, so it's not too bad, it's still P3, but of course I was leading, and the safety car came out at the wrong moment, for our strategy. So it got a bit more complicated for us in the end, and I didn't have the pace with the soft tires, so I could not keep it up, and Norman and Nicholas overtook me in the end. So yeah, a bit disappointed, of course, but yeah, we'll work a bit more and try to go for the win at the next race for sure.
I think one thing's obvious, Prema are here and definitely mean business in GP2. But Norman, many congratulations. A phenomenal win, a phenomenal first race for the 2016 GP2 series. GP3 follows, but for GP2, that's your lot.